to the fights. We've been having some technical difficulties here with the internet, but we're getting it underway. Luckily, we barely got into the 205 pounders with Ed Herman coming in against Gerald Meerschaert, GM3, as short fuse, having multiple fights in the UFC, multiple rounds in there. We can really get a good size of opponents in there and really get a good feeling for what we're going to receive from both of these fighters. 13-0 fighter Gerald Meerschaert's coming off of a loss to Ian Heinisch with a brutal overhand right that finished it quickly a month ago. Prior to that, he ended up beating Darren Wynn, losing to Anders, beating Giles, losing to Holland in there. GM3, we know what we're getting with him. Serviceable striking on the ground is where he does his best work, using those arm triangles from bottom and top. Also having just a pretty serviceable ground game. His takedowns aren't that good, but they have gotten better for Meerschaert, but he's not someone who's going to blow you out of the water striking. His cardio is sneakily good in there, where he, in the third round, is still very viable for a submission. He's still searching for him. He's still moving forward. Again, the technique and the striking kind of goes out the window by that point. Meerschaert's just kind of swinging to get to the ground. But it's something that we know we can rely on him doing in there. And against short fuse Herman, the 24-14 fighters, coming off of a 2-fight winning streak as a big underdog to Pat Cummins and Ibrahimov in there. Short fuse Herman is showing us that he still does have a chin. He still has cardio, and that veteranship, that savviness is coming through with some of just his tailor-made game plans against his opponents, knowing that he has to drag them into deep waters and turn it into a brawl. And he's been able to do that so far. Ed Herman's takedown defense has always been good up there. Even if you get Herman down, he's pretty good about getting back on his feet. And then that left hand, that power strike for Ed Herman is why he's known as a knockout puncher. He has that power into the third round, but nowadays, I don't think that third round to finish is in there unless it's a cardio type of thing. Short fuse is a really short, and he's much more of a one round live type of knockout. If not that, I see him to turn it more into a grind. But specifically in this matchup, I mean, Ed Herman's chin's still good. If they get to the ground, I think Herman can get back up on his feet. But saying all of that as well, I feel like the longer this fight goes, the more it gets into Mirshar territory, into that decision. He can just push a little more takedowns or even just grappling on the fence and get it grimy. I think this turns into a somewhat of a grappling heavy match. Well, I see it going one of two ways. Well, there's really three ways. Short fuse knocks him out quickly. Meerschaert submits him at any time in the fight, or it's the most boring, grinding decision for either fighter. So a lot of variables here, not really narrowing it down too much. But I do think Meerschaert is going to end up getting a submission round number 2. I think he can get Herman down. I think he can get on top and exploit some of that, even though it's going to be a tough battle because Short Fuse has still got some left in the tank in there. But just give me the younger up-and-coming fighter here. Give me Meerschaert submission round number 2. I'm not confident in that. I could turn that into a decision. What do you think you're going with this one?
Your breakdown did not make me any closer to feeling good about this. Was that what was meant to happen? Right off the bat, I want to say Meerschaert. I always go with Meerschaert. But something else, if you follow the show, I always go with Ed Herman, too. They're two of my weird underdog favorites. So the fact that they're going against each other, for every reason that every guy, like an Eric Anders, that's why Ed Herman could beat Meerschaert for all the same reasons. Stay off the ground, stay at distance, and just keep pecking them apart. Ed Herman has the better cardio here. He has the better strikes here. Yeah, I don't think he's going to have the length, but Meerschaert's looping punches, there's nothing that really great that goes on. I think Ed Herman can lay some leg kicks. He has the better ring IQ and more heart. I love Meerschaert, but I think Ed Herman can do everything smart enough to win this fight. Meerschaert, it's his win one, lose one, win one, lose one. That wants me to go with the win one, but Heinisch, I even think every grime and every bit of Heinich is what Ed Herman has too. I'm going to go with Herman getting the nasty, nasty D. I think Meerschaert's going to be the one that uses that 25-foot cage to his advantage because he has shitty reaching takedowns. Like he goes in like zombie for people to get them down. But I think Ed Herman has enough strength and takedown defense to make it count when Meerschaert can't get him down. I think he'll nasty elbow, lay 4 or 5 inside punches. Meerschaert lays off. He does keep going for the takedown, but they just get weaker and weaker of attempts. I think I think Ed Herman knows enough to do. I think he has more ring IQ than Eric Anders. Yeah, give me Ed Herman for the nasty, nasty, dirty D.
DraftKings, you're going to end up paying for the slight favorite Gerald Meerschaert, $8,300 against Ed Herman, $7,900. How much do you think you're going to be playing Ed Herman on DraftKings as an underdog here?
Honestly, both guys kind of seem like low scorers to me unless you expect a finish, which I don't for either guy. I think it's either Ed Herman just does just enough to not get submitted the whole fight, or Meerschaert does just enough to not get knocked out the whole fight. Either way, I think both guys are going to steal around from the other. I don't think it's a clean decision. So I might put both guys on a card, but only
Stacking
one.
It.
No.
Oh, okay.
Both guys on one
other.
card. Like, I'm not going to go heavy on either of these guys, but I might play them on one card.
I think that's absolutely right. I think you're moving me more into that dirty split decision for Mirshar. It's probably the more advantageous play if you're looking for a prop bet. It's going to be that over 2.5 rounds. I like what you're saying on DraftKings as well. 8-3 for an average of 67 points against an average of 62 points for 7-9 in Herman. The winner's going to get in that 60 range, and that's not going to pay either one of their salaries off. So I'm going to probably just steer clear from this one and enjoy it from the sidelines.
Agreed.
As far as DraftKings.
Mostly.
Then a really fun one, a really sneaky fun one in here. At 135 pounds, we got returning Jonathan Martinez against Frankie Sainz. Martinez coming in with an 11-3 record, last losing a split decision to Andre Ewell, which I don't think a lot of people believe. Going back and watching that, Martinez was winning that fight other than the takedowns. Definitely a fun fighter in here. Really liked what we've been seeing from Martinez. He also lost the decision to Sokamthath, and that's when guys keep him on the outside of the range for Martinez. They can just kind of pick him apart a little bit, but Martinez is just steadily showing his gas tank's getting a lot better. His fight IQ's growing. That intercepting left knee that he was throwing on Ewell, and in general he throws in most of his fights, really causes a lot of troubles for fighters, especially if they're a little on the shorter side, because he really just digs into that body. He will throw a good elbow on the outside and has a good left straight as well. So Martinez on the ground has also shown some fun submission attempts in there against earlier level opponents. Against Frankie Sainz, I don't see that submission possibility so much in there, but I do like the knockout potential in here. The 12-6 Frankie Sainz is 39 years old, last coming off of a loss to Marlon Vera. Prior to that, only beating Briones and Davishvili in a controversial split decision, but losing to Augusto Mendez, Eddie Wineland. Here, Sainz likes to use his wrestling. He's savvy old vet. He's got great fight IQ. He understands what he needs to do in a fight in order to get the win, and if he turns it into a boring wrestling match, he's done it before. And against Martinez, that's what he has to absolutely do. Work on those takedowns. Sainz's hands have always been all right, but he's never really blown anyone out of the water there. So I feel like if you see an easy first and second round takedown from Sainz, you should definitely be betting Sainz live here. But I think Martinez is able to get him out of there in two. I think Martinez is able to line him up, and the first round, both of these guys are going to kind of throw it away. Sainz will be shooting a lot of takedowns, and if Martinez is able to stuff a couple, that round two intercepting knee to a straight left, I think is going to be right on point. in some of the openings I've seen Sainz leave. I'm more fading just the older guy here against the UFC up and coming prospect at 26 years old. Give me Jonathan Martinez, a decided favorite for a reason here. Who do you think you have in this one?
Right now, on my tap, I have Sainz decision. I think he can do just enough to make it a really boring decision. And I think a lot like the Ray Borg fight, you want to see something different. It's not the fight you want, but it's the fight you get.